If you're tuning in today, you must need to hear some guidance from Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse Spirit Guides. And they want me to share with you today about sacred space, the importance of it, how you create it. And here's the key they talked to me about today is it's about taking sacred space wherever you go. Excuse me. All of a sudden, I have something that I'm feeling allergic to. I have no idea. Anyway, so the big thing they wanted me to stress with you, because I always tune into the Archangel Gabriel and Spirit Guide, the Flying Horse, is, kind of like what they want to talk about. And they had me title this as how to create sacred space. But as I was with them more before we started, they really talked about how the importance of it and taking that sacred space with you wherever you go. So we're going to be checking in with them and getting more intuitive guidance about that. They're also going to be doing, like, I felt like some kind of blessing to help you do this. And we'll go from there. If you haven't tuned in here before, let me kind of just tell you what I usually do. We're going to ring this bell and invite in their energy, do a little ritual with doing a couple of Sanskrit chants and oming the canvas, because it's all about what do we infuse into the portal so that other people can get this blessing that I get from them in meditation, and as I'm communing with them to give you their guidance, their blessings, okay? So we're going to ring this bell, and I invite you, if you have a bell in your home, to ring the bell into your sacred space, because I always talk about this, about how it's important to create sacred space in your physical space, but more importantly within you. And I'm sure they haven't told me this, but that they're going to talk something about that, about the sacred space within yourself. I'd be surprised if they don't. But anyway, so I'm Deepa, in case you don't know that, and I call myself the Creative Mystic. And welcome to my Sacred Art Studio. This is all about sending the blessings of the spirit guides to you and spreading it throughout the world so that they can uplift you and help you come from higher consciousness. Because whenever you're in fear or worry or anxiety or shoulds or have tos, when they always tell me that's not higher consciousness. And in order to kind of get your life to be on purpose, to have the meaning, to be doing what you came here to be, do, and have, that you have to come from that higher consciousness place. And the spirit guides are here to help you with that if you're not able to maintain that on your own. So let's get started with inviting them in, and then we'll see what they have to share with you. All right. And then generally someplace in the process, they'll start off with some kind of guidance and message, and then we go into painting more, because this spirit guide is not complete yet. And so we'll be doing more of that. Okay. So right now, like I said, if you have a bell, go ahead and grab it. And we're going to do a little ritual, inviting in, invoking in Archangel Gabriel, the spirit guide of Archangel Gabriel, and the spirit guide of the Flying Horse, because they've come together. Okay. So as we ring this bell, I want you to say, hello, Archangel Gabriel. Hello, the Flying Horse. And I'll be saying it. You can say it with me or say your own words or prayers of invocation, of inviting them in. I'm going to be inviting them in here to my Sacred Art Studio, but specifically also into your space, okay? Into your home and into your space, into your beingness of who you are. All right? So let's just take a moment now and focus on your breath, taking that deep belly breath where the belly rises with inhalation and falls with the exhalation. And ring the bell. Hello, Archangel Gabriel. Hello, the Flying Horse. We invoke thy presence into this sacred space of our physical space, into this sacred art studio, into the sacred space of whomever is watching or with us now on this video live, in this sacred spirit and art time of invoking the spirit guides, of invoking Archangel Gabriel. We ask that their intuitive guidance, their higher guidance, their blessings to be infused into the ringing of this bell, so that as you hear this bell ringing, that you allow their blessings to vibrate within your beingness, into your body, into your mind, into your soul, and just feel the blessings. And even if you don't notice anything, just be open and willing to the receptivity of their blessings. And just say thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. I'm going to light this ghee lamp. And I always like this ghee lamp, because fire is transformative. Fire transforms, think about it, wood to ash, paper to ash, almost instantaneously. Okay? So let's just take a moment and bring in this fire to infuse, to transform any ill thoughts, anything that may have been misthought, misdone in our own energies. I'm going to ohm the canvas 3 times. I invite you to ohm it too. Because the ohming, when you do it within, even to the intention of bringing it into the spirit guide portal, you awaken that energy within yourself. Om. 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 Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvareka Bandhanat Micho Mokshamamritat. Om. Om Bhuvaha. Om Swaha. Om Maha. Om Janaha. Om Tapaha. Om Satyam. Om Tatsavitur Vadinyam Bhargo Devasya Dimahi Dio Yo Na Prachodayat. Om. And I always like to bring some Palo Santo in. It helps to cleanse the energy from any negativity, but also invites in the energy of the spirit guide. So it's about cleaning my own energy, cleaning energy on the canvas, the palette, and to you. All right? Because you can break that in. Okay. So, and hello to, I think it's Gaston. Thank you for sharing and announcing yourself. Love to hear from where you're from. It's Gaston, if I might be saying your name wrong. But anyway, Archangel Gabriel, let's check in real quick to find out more of what they want to say about your sacred space. Because before I even got on, they were talking about the importance of sacred space and bringing it with you. And I kind of got the sense it was about travel. And they're saying, yes, it is somewhat about travel, but it's not necessarily travel that you get on a plane. You don't have to get on a plane and travel someone far away. But as you go throughout your day, you're traveling, right? You go from room to room. You go to your job if you have to actually go physically somewhere else. And they're saying when you travel, like for vacation or for business or for anything like that, that's really important to take the time to create that sacred space in the new physical space that you're going in. And it's about creating that intention of like bringing your sacred self into that sacred space, to like not just look at the space. Sometimes people go into a space and they're like, ooh, I don't like the energy here. Have you ever had that happen? And so you think, oh, I got to like get Palo Santo and clear the energy, and that's not necessarily bad. Hi, thank you. You've got Love X1P5E. I'm not sure what your name is, but thank you again for answering yourself. But they talk about the importance of like bringing the sacred space in. So it could be something like as simple as you get some Palo Santo and you bring it and you do it so that you're bringing in some energy and removing the negative energy. But they're talking more about the intention that you bring. That's what Archangel Gabriel is talking about. The intention that you bring to this new space, okay? And the intention is to bring the sacred space, the sacred energy, they're saying, of the divine into there. So as a spiritual seeker, a mystic, a visionary, someone who is looking to have higher power be with you in your life, to get higher guidance, to do like your divine purpose, that you want to invite that energy into every space you enter. Now, obviously, if you're walking from room to room in your house, they're not saying that you have to stop every single room, but the intention of like, as I bring my own energy into the space, I'm bringing in the energy of the divine. Okay. And that can be done, they're saying, by a simple, intentional statement as you walk into the next room. Like they're saying, the ringing of the bell. Now, you don't have to ring a bell in every space that you go into. It's a tradition in India that I love. Okay. You go into a new place, you say, hello, God, and you ring the bell. But it is about how do you bring that in by a moment of just a pause of saying, hello, God. Hello, Archangel Gabriel. Hello to whatever spirit, higher spirit that you have. So for me, like I have spirit guides that come to me all the time. I'm very connected to Divine Mother, to Mother Mary in her forms. And so often I'll say, hello, Divine Mother. Hello, Mother Mary. It depends on what I'm, feeling guided or what's around me. But you don't have to feel like something's around you, what they're saying. They're saying that it's about your intention of like feeling like your energy matters in creating the sacred space. That's what they're saying. They're saying your energy can shift all the energy in a space by how you are in the intention that you bring. So rather than coming from a place with a lot of people, what they do is they get kind of, ooh, like, I don't like this space. Let me get out of here. Or, oh my God, I got to do something to fix it. They're saying like, if you notice an energy is not good, to bring an uplifting energy in. So you do a little prayer, inviting in a spirit guide, inviting in Divine Mother, inviting in Archangel Gabriel. And they're saying that you can work with Archangel Gabriel with them, the flying horse. Now, if you've never been here before, you don't know that the reason why they're coming together as spirit guides is because Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse came with the message of, you don't have to do it alone. You can get on, like, a spirit guide's back and have an easier ride. And so even a spirit guide like Archangel Gabriel, archangel, likes the assistance, doesn't want to have to do it alone. So to be open to not always doing everything by yourself, or that you have to do it all, or to think that it's only going to get done right if you're doing it. So, or if you do it, so they're talking about, and I'm not quite sure how this deals with sacred space, but they're saying that when you're in the energy of no one else can do it unless I do it, or in the energy of like the only time it's done well is when I do it, that is not creating sacred energy, because it's creating division. Okay, they're saying sacred energy is about knowing that we're one with all. Okay. And so even though you might have those little ego dislikes, to not let them rule how your energy is. Now they're saying this is a practice. It's not something that won't necessarily be easy, but that to invite the energy in of saying, you know what, I'm open to trying this. I'm open to trying to like carry the sacred energy of oneness, that we're all interconnected. There is no them. And they're saying that when you do that, you bring the sacred energy in, because oneness can have no them. Like, you're not going to go, ooh, look at that person, or ooh, look at that terrible energy. If there's an energy that doesn't feel so good, you bring your energy in to brighten it up. So they're saying that when you go into a space, that for you to own that you're a brightening influence, that you can help lift people up, okay? That you can lift the energy up of a space, all right? It's not just, oh, let's get away from it. It's about, how can I do it? Now, what they're saying is you have to be honest with yourself where you are, because unless you're completely God realized, enlightened, awakened completely all the time, you're going to have days where you can be that brightening influence, and days where you know, oh, I need to go take care of myself. And that's part of how you create sacred space, is you know when you need to be the time to, like, let me go take care of my sacred space within me, because I don't feel like I can be that brightening influence today. And so as you learn how to know, oh, I'm not in the space to be that brightening influence, what can I go do to take care of my sacred space within me? That energy will then still be uplifting the energy in a space, physical space, that doesn't feel so good. Because they're saying that when you take care of you, when you have the energy of self-love to take care of your space within yourself, your emotional space, your energetic space, your mental space, your spiritual space, whatever, that's within you, that energy of self-love still uplifts the room without you even trying. So hopefully that makes sense, because that's what they're telling me. Hi, I don't know you. It's coming up in a different language, so I don't know. It's not giving me a translation. So unfortunately, I can't answer you, but thank you for announcing yourself. It's Boss is the name sign on, but I appreciate it. So thank you for everything. If you have any questions about anything, obviously it has to be in English, but please feel free to put a question in the comments. I'd be happy to answer it for you. I want to check in one more time, but I think they're going to tell me to go, to start painting, and we're going to work on the spirit guide. I was given guidance to work on the background. And hi, great, thank you. If you have any questions, I'd love to see it. Where are you from? Because I don't know. I can guess it, but I don't know the language for sure. Because but I'd love to know where you're from. If anybody wants to share that, great. And we're going to get going here on Archangel Gabriel in a minute. I'm just going to check in one last time. So the last thing they wanted me to talk to you is about why creating sacred space is so important. And they're saying that we can either be a solution or we can be a problem. And the solution is that we carry this sacred space, and that's the solution. And when we drop to the problem of judging and criticizing or complaining about something, that creates more of the problem. And so, our energy of what we're doing is creating the kind of energy in the space. And so if we're judging another person or criticizing them or being, frustrated or angry, that's creating more of the problem energy. And the solution energy is self-love, of let me create that sacred space in me. Let me know I can be a brightening influence, that I can make a difference, okay? And that we're all connected, so there is no them. And so that knowingness of knowing that, there is, no them, was one of the biggest things when I got on the spiritual path. That was mind-blowing, because when they said it to me, I knew it was true. Okay, I was like, that is so true. Okay, now one of the other things too that Archangel Gabriel's asked me to share with you is that, sometimes you meet people and they're kind of rude, or they're more angry energy, right? Or they do things that you don't think are necessarily appropriate. And sometimes people think people are evil. And I've come to learn, as I've been on the spiritual path a long time, they want me to share with you that, because we're all one, right? That there are no evil people. They're just extremely wounded people. So all the people that do things that are what we would consider evil are really wounded people. They are emotionally wounded, so they act out and they do these horrible things. And so when I can remember that, I can have some compassion. And so when you can remember that, oh, you're Russian. Well, you're typing English there, or somehow it's done the translation, boss. So I'm half Japanese, but I'm an American. I'm Asian American, born here in America. Both my parents are born in America. So, but thank you for asking, and thank you for chiming in. I like that. I guess maybe there's a translation or something, because it says you don't know English, but you're Russian, but yet it's coming up in English now. So I don't know if somehow they're translating it for me. But thank you. So they're really saying that about that's important that you start to think about that if we're all one and I'm looking at someone as evil, like maybe there's a different perspective. So when I can remember that, then I have more compassion for that person. I still may not like what they're doing. I still may think what they're doing is not dharmic, not that it's not right, that it's wrong, and I try to stay out of the right and wrong, because spiritually right and wrong is a very relative term. Okay. But when I see they're doing things that are harming other people, which to me is not dharmic, that's a yogic term, which means not like, I don't have a good English translation for it, but doing like the moral thing, and even that's moral is a relative thing. Okay. But we all know on the inside when we're doing really something that is not of the higher consciousness. Even the people who we would call evil know that. They may not care at that moment because they're so wounded and they're triggered. And when someone's triggered, they just keep acting out. But that it can allow me to have some compassion, because that's the challenge of people really believing and knowing that we're all one, is when we start to go into division. So great. Anyway, let's get to painting and see what Archangel Gabriel still has to say. If you have any questions, please share it with me in the comments. I check it every few minutes. I'm going to go. Now, this is my first time doing this thing where it's doing a vertical and a horizontal. And I don't know how often you're going to see me in the vertical, because I've not done this before. I usually just do horizontal. But I'm experimenting to see how things go, because one thing about life, and this is what the spirit guides are always telling me, is the only constant we have is there's always change in life, right? And especially with technology. So today, Archangel Gabriel wanted me to just work some on the background. And one of the things, if you've never come here before, and if you haven't, if I do these lives almost every week, except for like in December, I won't be doing it on Christmas Day or anything like that. But if you want to get notified that I'm going to be doing the next one, or get notified on my latest video, please subscribe, because that all helps my channel. If you like what you're seeing, give me a little thumbs up. These are all my little creative things I love making, because even though I love doing the spirit guides, turn on your notifications. But if you can do that, that's always helpful. It helps my channel. I would appreciate it. So if you've never been here before, one of the things is the spirit guides, if you don't know, they have come to me in meditation. And they come because they want me to create these spirit guide portals. And what a spirit guide portal is a doorway to help you get higher guidance from the spirit guide realm. Now, a lot of times people will ask me, now the spirit guide realm is a sacred space, right? So a lot of times people will ask me, if we're all one, How can they be spirit guides? And it's a very good question to ask that, okay? But what I want you to understand, and that's what they came to me and explained, is that even though the spirit guides seem like they're separate, it's just like us who are in a body, we are physically separate, but spiritually one, right? And we're one on what? The energetic plane. We're one on, because everything is energy. Science is proving that, or has proved that there's everything's energy, and that even though we see and look like we're physical bodies differently, we're all really actually one. So it's the same with the spirit guides. Now, why did the spirit guides come in these forms? One of the things is they come in these forms because it's a form that somebody on the planet, it might not be you, but it could be someone else, will relate to that form, and it will help them move to higher consciousness. Because we all have different spirit guides around us. That's what I've been told by the spirit guides. We have different spirit guides around us all the time. They come in at different times. And they come in because it's something we're needing at that time. So you have some that come in at different times because we all come in on a different vibration. And the vibration is like the different level of consciousness that we're at. That maybe we need this particular thing to help us get to the next level of awakening, because we're at, each of us comes in as a specific place, and in order to grow, we need different things to keep growing. So the spirit guides come in these different forms to help wherever you are in your growth process. So some people relate to the angels. Some people relate to the animals. Some people, everybody relates to something different. And the spirit guides know that. I always tell people, like with my individual mentoring coaching clients, that they know more than I know. I have, like whenever I mentor coach people, I go to the spirit guides to find out what's the higher thing, and they know like what the thing is that you need to maybe overcome a challenge, to heal a wound that you might have, because everybody on the planet has different emotional wounds. Some people have small ones, some people have big ones. But whatever those are, the spirit guides are here to help you overcome those emotional wounds, to help you get the higher guidance you need. Because when you keep going from your programming that you got when you were growing up, and if you grew up in any kind of traumatic childhood, and when I say traumatic, it doesn't have to be that you were kidnapped or something. It's what was traumatic for you. So that creates wounds. And that traumatic experience is how we have to heal what comes from that. So I'm a lot different than a lot of people on the spiritual path, and that I've come to realize, and I've gotten it from my spirit guides, is that healing is a big part of spiritual growth. And the other thing that's a big part of spiritual growth is creativity. That All my spiritual gifts of vision, of seeing the spirit guides didn't come until I started combining creativity, the creating of these spirit guide portals, which was just a desire in the beginning, with spiritual practices. And that opened up the floodgates of me getting these visions that I never used to be a visual person at all when I was younger. So I tell people, just because you don't have a certain spiritual gift now doesn't mean you can't get one, because you don't ever know. And if you really want to awaken your spiritual gifts, whatever those gifts you might want, whether it's knowing your intuition more and following it, or maybe some people want to be able to get, see someone's energy or connect with their spirit guide and get messages. You just don't ever know. But your true heart's desire starts to let you know what it is. Because I went to a painting class and had this desire to create Yogananda, so that when people saw his painting, they would feel his power and his blessings. And before I knew it, I had these experiences where people were telling me how they felt the power and energy of it, that were his disciple, and it awakened up and I started getting visions in meditation, and wasn't anything I thought was ever going to happen. But so you just never know. So what I'm doing right now is a small detail that needs to get done. So one of the things Archangel Gabriel is telling me right now is that if you want to start creating sacred space within yourself, you have to start by listening to yourself. Like if you're somebody who doesn't listen to what your heart is telling you, or that maybe you need rest, and that you just keep pushing and you're not listening, that it's really hard to create sacred space. That sacred space is a lot about learning to listen. And that practice starts with listening to yourself first, is what they're saying. And they're saying that if you have resistance to listening to yourself, you have resistance to growing. So now, if you don't ever hear the voice in your head and ignore it, the first step is, how do you start to hear that voice, right? Because you can't actually listen to something you're not even aware existing. So they're saying it starts, where you start depends on where you are presently. Which makes sense. You know, that's the thing, is a lot of times they're saying that a lot of times people want to jump to a level that they're not ready for. So in order to create sacred space within your area, you have to kind of know where you are. Ah, yes, Lily. Lil, it's good to see you. Good to see you from Belgium. Thank you for coming again. The spirit guides came in earlier, since you weren't here earlier, and talked about the importance of sacred space and how to start to do it. You may want to go back and listen to some of what they said in the beginning later, but they're talking more about how, in order to start creating it for yourself, you have to start, you really listen to yourself. You can't create sacred space within yourself, which will create sacred space in your space wherever you go. And they talked about the importance of that. Is that you have to start the practice of listening to yourself. So it's one of the biggest things I think people have a problem doing. It's especially if you find you're not happy in your life, it's often because you're not listening to what your heart's trying to tell you. So how are things in Belgium, Lil? If you're still there, I know sometimes people pop in and then they pop out, but if you're still there, I'd love to hear how they are there. Let me put more. Oh, things could not be worse? That's not good. What's so bad there? I was hoping to say that they're better. Well, maybe this is what you need to hear, is because sometimes if you can learn how to create the sacred space, maybe that can help things get better. Okay. So one of the things they were saying was You really have to practice, start listening to yourself. And I don't know, have you been able to do, are you good at that? Or, I mean, that's something I'm still perfecting with myself. Some days I'm good about it and some days I'm not. But they're saying that if you want to create sacred space everywhere you go, you have to be able to listen to yourself. And if you're not listening to yourself, then it's really hard to create that sacred space within yourself because you're not listening to what you need. And they're saying that, they said earlier that if you're not up for like being that brightening influence or that sacred space to then you need to take a step back and practice self-love, because that energy of self-love that you practice on yourself actually then starts to create sacred space, because the energy of love, of loving yourself, of doing loving things, of giving yourself loving speech makes a difference. So what's one loving self-love act you could do for yourself, so you could start creating that sacred space within yourself? So even if you don't want to share, I mean, I'd love to see if you want to share it, but even if you don't want to share what that could be, think about what it could be. So you could start with that. Because we're talking about that earlier, about how the energy of self-love is the beginning of creating sacred space when you're not up for doing it in another way. Which, when they said it, I was like, wow, that makes perfect sense. It's real. Oh, that's a good one. Take more rest, Lil. Yeah, I think people don't give themselves enough rest. And, it's been a practice for me to really learn to just listen, because I was a type A person who would go out and push myself. And it was a practice to start to go, you know what? My body actually isn't up for this right now. I'm not going to do it. And it was a big deal for me to start to admit I wasn't up for certain things, because I was brought up that you do your best, and you push yourself if you have to. But as you get on the planet longer, you start to realize, like, I don't know if this is the right thing for me anymore. And you start to change. Well, Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse are wanting people to start listening to themselves so they can create that sacred space, not only in the physical space, but within themselves. And that's how the physical space actually gets its energy. Now, we're all one, but if we're all one, why do some spaces have different energy than other spaces? And they're saying because each person is carrying their own individual choices of what they choose to think about, speak about, and all those things affect the energy because we're all little bits of the one. So and they're also saying, think about I'm going to back up while I'll be talking, what you have in your sacred space, in your space environment that you're listening to, that you're watching, because all that is affecting you, whether you realize it or not. So they're talking about, like, if you watch violent shows or not, if you're already struggling with being in a good space for yourself, maybe it's not a good idea to watch violent shows. So that's what they're saying to me right now. And they're not saying you're watching violent little. They're just using it as in general, like anything that you want to watch things and have things going on in your environment that lift you up. So they're talking about that you want to have things that are lifting you up. So when I do as you put the layers on of the painting, you have to put more fat into the paint. So even though I'm using the color of the tube, I still have to mix in some I use this Gamblin solvent-free gel that adds fat, so that you have to do fat over lean. So that, and the reason why, if you're not an oil painter, you may not care why, but if you ever decide you want to, is that if you were to do lean over fat, like you use less fatty paint over, it'll crack. So the paint will crack within time. So you want to have fattier paint color over less fat paint if possible. And that will help it not crack as soon. I mean, obviously, any painting, after it's been around for years and years and years, will possibly crack. But you want to try to do what you can to prevent it. So, anyway, So, oh, one of the things they're tuning in and telling me right now, they said, make sure you share. One of the biggest things that can help create sacred space is having sacred art into your space. So, having things that remind you of, whatever higher power you believe in, to the angels, to like my spirit guide portals. That's why part of the reason why they're all created was to help bring that sacred space into people's homes so that it can act as a reminder. And they're saying that reminder is very important, because remembrance is one of the most important things on the spiritual path as you journey in and you're wanting the path of awakening, and you want to have something that reminds you of that you're not alone, of higher power, of the spirit guides, so that you're not forgetting, because we forget, especially when we get caught up in the day-to-day, like when we feel like there's something that needs to get done, like we can get caught up in forgetting, like if you have a bunch of things you've got to do, we get caught up and we forget that we don't have to do it alone. Well, they aren't coming through with anything else to share with you. And I actually do have to get going. I have an appointment that I have to get myself to. 5 o'clock, so I got to clean up. But I will be on having it next week. So hopefully we'll see you next week. If there are any last questions, feel free to put them through before I sign off. I'll give you a minute to put anything in. If anybody has a question about anything, love to have it. Who knows what Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse is going to come in and want me to share next week. But we definitely will be working on finishing off the fine details of this portal. We're getting close to the end. I still feel like there's more to do with Archangel Gabriel. Like there's something that I'm always looking at what can bring out more life, but they had said work on the background. So I worked on the background, and we'll see what else I get guided to do to bring more life to it. So no questions. I don't see anything coming through, but thank you to everyone. You know, if you're looking for some place, a spiritual community, a spiritual home, I'm going to be launching a membership in the near future. And let me just put that up real quick. If you'd like to get on the membership wait list, I'd love to see you there. It's, you know, it's going to be a spiritual community. It's membership, deepalu.com/membership-waiting-list. And I'd love to see any of you want to get on that list. You'll be getting emails from me until I launch it. But it's going to be a spiritual home for people who want to be on the path of awakening. And I'm going to be releasing a video, a pre-done video about the untold process of the path of awakening, because it really is a process. And I talk about that process in that video. I'd love to see you guys watch it. If you can give a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll be here next week, Thursday, 3:30. Hopefully soon we will get to what we're supposed to be doing to finish off Archangel Gabriel. I see there's a comment. Let me check there. How can I keep safe in the space I am in right now? Can you clarify the question just a little bit, Lil? Like, are you talking about physical space or your emotional space? And then I'll ask the question. So if you can just put that in there, then I'll ask it for you before I sign off. Yeah, I'll wait a little bit here since I saw a comment. Yeah, because I just want to know what you'd like me to ask them. Because the more specific we are, the better answer you get. So I tell people, and if you mean both, that's fine too. Just let me know what you mean. Oh, physical space? Because physique space, so I'm assuming physical space. Okay, so let me tune in and ask them. Oh, sorry, I was hitting the microphone. Well, they're flying a lot of ideas off of me right now. They're saying, one, the self-love act that they started talking about to you, about how they said earlier in the live about how if you're not up for having that more uplifted energy to do self-love acts, because when you actually bring in the energy of love for yourself to do something that's loving for yourself, and that could be words of kindness, rest, like you said, or give yourself a bubble bath or something that's just, and you do it not because you have to, but because this is a loving act. This is something that I feel makes me feel loved and makes me feel nurtured. Okay. They're talking about that, but they're saying that also in your physical space, you can bring in the energy of intention, of prayer, of inviting in like Archangel Gabriel or another spirit guide or God. I don't know what you use for your higher power. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they're asking at this point if you're living in a place where with somebody who it's not a good relationship, you really need to bring in the intention of prayer, and the word revision is coming. It's hard for me to explain what they're saying about revision, but it's about owning your own power, that you're not a victim to this person, and that you can revise it into being the powerful person that you are and have the kind of home that you desire. Does that make sense, Lil? So to start to embrace your powerful being that you are. Not to confront him, but to embrace that you are this powerful being, that to invoke in the power of higher power, okay? And that miracles are possible. It's Archangel Gabriel is here bringing that belief. Somebody I was talking to, was working with, was had something happen. And I said, well, you always want to believe that a miracle can happen and to hold. And I don't want to give the specifics of what happened with that person, but they had something come up that cost a lot of money. And they thought, how am I going to pay for this? And I said, you want to hold that a miracle can happen, that you can get what you need for either very little money or that it'll be for free. And she's held that idea that it could be a miracle, even though she was struggling with it, and ended up getting what she needed for free. So there are many miraculous stories like that, and Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse are here with the idea of all things are possible and that miracles are here, and that you have to get into the energy of possibility, but empowerment, they're saying too. One of those things that you do to empower yourself is the self-love act. Because when you start to love yourself, then you start to go, I am this powerful being. I can do something different. Is that making sense, Lil? I'm assuming you're typing, Lil, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to type something in, but they're really talking about that. And to bring in sacred items into your space. It was one of the things they were saying before you even gave more, was that to bring in the energy of sacred items. So have, that's one of the reasons why I do G-clays of my spirit guide portals, so that people can have a spirit guide portal to help them, to bring it, to uplift the energy, to work with the spirit guides, to remind them. But even if you don't get my G-clays, you can bring in a sacred item that you buy somewhere that has meaning to you, of a sacred being. If you like, I do a lot of Mother Marys or an angel, you could bring that in to remind you that yes, you're not alone, and that it can uplift the energy in the space. So is that making sense, Lil? Yes. Okay, good. Does that sound helpful for you right now? I mean, obviously, this is not like a private session or working with me in my coaching, but I always try to, if a spirit guide comes forward when people have asked questions, I can give an answer. Is that helpful? Okay, thank you. Okay. So the revision part they're telling me right now is like whatever issues that you have with your boyfriend that aren't working out, is to revise it. Like at the end of the day, revise that, like what you really want, how you really want it to be. Okay. Now, this is not something necessarily that's easy to do when you're in the space that you are, but this is owning your power. Like, wait, how would I really want this to be? And revise it in your mind that this is the desire I have. This is how I really want my day to be, and hold it like it's revised. That was your day, if that makes any sense. It's kind of hard to coach you on that in this kind of form, because I'm not with you one-on-one, but just give you some idea of what revision is. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. All right. So I'm going to let you run. I got to run because I got a 5 o'clock appointment. I got to clean up still. But thank you to everybody who's tuned in. I hope to see you next week. Again, Thursday next week at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And Archangel Gabriel says to just send a blessing to you, that they're blessing you through the ethers and through this video, and that they really want you to open up and receive the blessings from them. And they're actually telling me before I hang up to like ring this bell with the idea that it's infused with their energy. Okay, and just let that blessing of Archangel Gabriel bless you with their higher consciousness. Their ability, for your ability to know that all things are possible, that you're able to do the revision. All right. Blessings. All right, well, have a good day. See you next week, possibly.